Hello everybody, Christian from Treasure Town here, and I'm super excited. Today we're going to be going through some more Jeton coins from France. These were basically accounting tokens that would be used in calculation before they had like a calculator, and they were really intricate designs. So they're all going to be approximately from 1643 to 1715, minted for Louis the 14th, who is a king of France, but he's actually the longest reigning king in really any history. Again, 72 years is a long time to be on the throne, and he was generally regarded as a pretty successful one. So bought this collection. These are all his tokens, and they again often have patriotic or like pro the king. I mean, you couldn't really be against the king at that point. So we're just going to open them up, and I'll tell you a little bit about Louis the 14th. I don't know a huge amount, but I'll do my little intro, my little sponsorship here, but just as a sense for what we're going to be looking at. Those are like die adjustment, or not adjustment marks, but like that is from the production process. That isn't like a hard scratch, but here's the sort of thing that we'd be looking at. Again, a copper token. You see the Roman numerals. This one looks like, let's see, MDC. That's 1698. I assume, or 1668 it looks like. But anyways, I think that these are really cool and relatively affordable compared to like buying colonial coins in the States at that point. So I'm excited to see what we get. We see, Ludovicus the 14th, DG de Gratia, and then I don't know exactly. Oh, this would be France and Navarre, which was a Spanish province that they had taken over at that point. Rex is the king. So I'll do the intro, and we'll be right back with the rest of these. This video is sponsored by Whatnot, a live streaming auctions and shopping app where I regularly sell coins and banknotes of all types, including US, world, errors, varieties, silver, gold, ancients, and more. And don't forget to use my link in the description to get a free $10 off on your first order on anything on the platform. Let's get into the video. All right, and we're just going to pick up from right where we left off. This one seems to be brass. I personally like the copper ones a little bit better than the brass. But they're all, these are remarkably well preserved for how old they are. These ones say, I'm not exactly sure what they're actually saying, but always have King Louis XIV, who they called him the Sun King. I think he had a lot of reforms, whether it was prison reforms or, different warring reforms. He successfully managed France for 72 years again, so generally kept them in a good situation. And I find it interesting. Wow, that is really cool. I'm not sure if that's like a dragon or probably like an eagle in its nest. And I don't always know what these necessarily mean, but like to have something circa 1680 with an older head and an incredible piece of art there, at a reasonably affordable price that I'm purchasing these. I'm enjoying collecting them, and then, as you know, selling a fair amount of them in my Whatnot auctions. But also piecing them out pretty slow over time, because I bought a big collection, so I have a fair amount of them at the moment, but they don't come up for sale very often. So it's the sort of thing where, something like this I don't really want to part with a really nice floral design. And again, I assume that this is, Hors de Guerre, something of the wars, but it's often like a medieval French-Latin mix that I don't really, unable to comprehend. Next one here is going to be, let's see, this one feels a little bit heavier, which is always good. I don't think that these are going to be remarkably different, but again, always the FR is France and Navarre, the king. That was something I had learned recently, but just understanding that there were these provinces that would always go, in the Pyrenees, basically. Navarre still has like a little bit of autonomy, but I just find it so cool. Look at the relief on the clouds on this one, and the stars with an eagle sort of presiding over a city. And to have the date on it, 1652, I'm probably going to hold on. I just think with the copper, it looks so neat. I wonder if this actually had some sort of treatment to it recently, if it was brushed or something, because it looks just in great condition. So that's another thing. Colonial coins in the States, grading them is almost impossible for me. Like this one to me, and maybe it's not the case, but looks a little more original. And this one, Unico Universis, like the unified world, to have that detailed of a sun and a world map like that, that's obviously a little bit incorrect. Magno Concilio, I don't even know what that means, but that looks really incredible. Imperium Sine Fine, I don't know what that all means, but then different date. I think that's a really cool, almost like a pattern jeton. But our next one is going to be this also 1681 copper jeton. I'm so happy that I bought these, because I bought these, they had no individual identification, and the photos weren't extremely clear on them. So again, I mean, look at that scene, just a really nice bridge on there with the Latin date telling us that it is from 1681. So neat, and a really nice portrait of King Louis the 14th. Another thing to note is that they would do, back then, now we think of IV as the Roman numeral 4 expression, but that hadn't really been invented, so to speak, at the time that these were being made. So, really, really cool ship coin for all the ship coin collectors, whether it's a Great British penny or the Portuguese have tons of ships all over their coins. This one, nice pickup from France. I wonder the N, I assume that means in Nuremberg, which was actually, I think technically in Germany, they were doing a lot of the minting. But anyways, they presumably minted a fair amount for France. This one going to be earlier, 1655, and I'm a big fan, even though this one has a rim hit, of this style of doing the head and then having a little bit of text below it. Ooh, and then 1655, incredible Canton's Fougat. I don't know what that means, but again, just unbelievable, whether that's a lion or a dog with a rooster, and then a full outline of a port city, that this was being made over 350 years ago. I'm not going to say exactly the price I paid for them. I thought I got a good price, but not incredible price, but I think the coins turned up looking better than I expected them to. And the Institute and Peace, I don't exactly know what that means, but we see liberty, or some thing of liberty or justice here, and almost looks like a little, I don't know if that's a die clash mark in the field, but let's see, youthful head with figure of peace, and just a figure of peace and justice, fin de la fronde. I don't know, that means the end of the fronde, which I think was some sort of a well, let me see, I have a page up here, I forget exactly what it means, but it has to do with the major geopolitical event that was going on at the time that coin was made. So here we got, okay, again, so that makes more sense. Nuremberg for France probably means that the previous one was also minted there. This was a later one, 1690, old head, another one of these ship coins, but this one looks brass, while this one, I remember, this one looks copper. So tell me in the comments which you think you prefer, the brass look or the copper. I think generally I like the copper, but in this instance, this hasn't worn quite as nice, whereas the brass coin looks pretty good to me. Over here, okay, also another older, around 1700. Wow, I like how that toned. Really nice figure trotting along there. But a much older head with, King Louis, Ludovicus, the Latin text. I don't know what the DGI means either, but it says by LGL, oh, maybe that's an L and not a D, by LGL, by Lazarus Gottlieb Laufer, who must have been running the Nuremberg mint at that point. I know there were a lot of German ones minted by Hans Krauwinkel, but I think that was a little bit earlier on, and he had a really long reign. This next copper one is also has some extreme detail on it, and reminds me of a lot of the pattern coins that we see in France. That looks like a younger, circa 1653, youthful head coin. And I'm a big fan, I think, of a lot of the younger looking ones. I'm not sure if there was a difference in quality of the art and mint, but again, just, I think most of these I'm going to end up keeping, which is not the best way to do dealing generally, but you have to remember that I do enjoy to collect in addition to, basically doing the dealing and collecting at the same point. I don't want to say I probably collect first, but at this point I'm spending a lot of time also on the dealing side. This one going to be another, looks more like a brass jeton, more mature head, but from 1664. So that's like a mid-range, still looks young, and I think, very impressive. That might be the favorite of all of the designs. It looks like probably the king. Maybe, I wonder if it is alluding to the divine right of kings in that, but all of his men there and a cross in the background with the sort of sun beaming on him, that might imply that. But again, 1664, you're thinking at this point, Pine Tree shillings, the super famous coin 1652 dated in the States, were mostly being struck after 1652, and that's why there's none struck from like 1664, because they would backdate all of them. Anyways, that's basically the counterpart of what was being struck. But then to get this for, I bought a bunch of these in bulk for a little bit under $20 each. Some of them I paid more than that for. It's a really cool piece of history. This next one I don't like quite as much. It's very thin. But 1676, yeah, there it even says a thin jeton. Fountain scene and garden, and also going to be by Cornelius Laufer. So, yeah, neat coin. Very, thin compared to the, well, it's not optically that different, but in hand, this is, and I think it's reflected in the strike. It's like very, very low relief. So we've got 3 more, and that's going to conclude this video. I wish I knew. It's not like I deal in so much of this stuff where I know exactly how much every one of these is worth and how I'm going to go about dealing with them. I think I'm just going to pull aside a lot. Like this one's another interesting one. At Nuremberg, much thinner, and probably doesn't have quite the eye appeal as the previous ones, but we see the fleur-de-lis, the crown, and I don't know. Oh, so here we see Wolf Laufer. They would often sign their, they literally just put their name on the jetons that they were making. I guess it's a good way if you're trying to go down in history. You can, and you're a mint master, you can like put your name all over the coins. We're back to another Lazarus Gottlieb Laufer coin, LGL, but that's more discreet. With this really nice scene of a warrior resting down their shield and their sword and spear by a tree. So I don't know if that's has to do with some story or mythology or not, but this is sort of the type of jeton that I'm a big fan of collecting myself. And then 1659, so that's going to be another earlier one. Hopefully the design, I really like the weight. It's just like a relatively heavy coin, and that is an incredible design with a line, a hand that's got a fasces, the axe that really reminds me of a mercury dime, and it's got a lot of the original sort of copper luster on it too. I think that this is it is the best for last, but had no intention of making it that way, but by far the coolest coin in my view. Maybe the art in some way but best condition, I think, best preserved and very high relief, with a sort of random violent scene, but dated 1659. That's probably my favorite. I'm trying to look out here and see some of the other ones that I really liked. For all I know, some of these other ones might just not have the luster, but technically be in better states of preservation. This one was definitely a highlight with the clouds done that way, and then this whole port scene. This was a really cool group of coins, and yeah, awesome that these jetons exist. And I have a few more series that are going to come out. But I'll probably release those every 5 or 6 weeks. I don't want to inundate everybody with these purchases, but I find them so fun to think about, learn a little bit of the history that went into the circumstances that they were produced in as well. And I'll see you on some similar upcoming videos. Thanks for watching the video. Be sure to like, comment your thoughts, and subscribe to Treasure Town, and get in touch with me on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Also, check out my website, treasuretowncoins.com, for news and updates related to the channel and collectibles in general. Lastly, there's a link tree in the description with links to all of my other sites, as well as some affiliate links that can support the channel. But with that being said, have a great day, and I'll hope to see you on some of my videos in the future.